Hi, I'm Anka Roncha. I'm a poet and translator. I'm in Bucharest in December 2021, the anniversary month of the 1989 revolution that overthrew the communist regime I was born into. Most of my life, winter holidays are about change, constant adjust and readjust, undoing of everything a communist dictatorship had done, undoing of thinking, of buying, of selling, of making and remaking. On my street, across from the entrance to my building, the National Archive of the former secret police put on a secret exhibition of randomly chosen reports from its archives. Blown up photos of informants' writings are tied up to the fence. It's cold, cloudy, and a fine rain soaks me through. One of the pieces is a drawing of the front of the building on Calea Victoriei, displaying each window of the apartments in the building, marking each apartment where there is a person with a relative abroad, potentially formers of the former unofficial, people with relationships with people abroad, foreign citizens. This drawing offers the potential to look at them through the windows, track and follow, perhaps hear something. The outside feels inside, and the inside feels as exposed as outside. One still needs to know there could be a closed inside. Lisa Lowe says, in this effort, I do not treat the Colonial Archive as a stable, transparent collection of facts. Rather, I regard its architecture of differently functioning offices and departments as room of the imperial state. They house the historically specific technologies of colonial governance for knowing and administering colonized populations, which both attest to its contradictions and yield its critique. The legacy of archive, the concept of archive as enclosed space, where contents are narrated to uphold the empire's image of itself, is perhaps a definition of the word archive that requires undoing. I'm translating it to the Greek word archi, meaning beginning. It does not come from there etymologically, but undoing its rooms requires a different kind of etymology. In undoing the word, I'm undoing the text the word requires. To write out of that building is to break the syntax of how stories out of archives are told. Any archive needs undoing to be anti-colonial. It is a story of rooms where there could be poems instead, open-ended, unwilling to pretend to hold reports, but rather intimacies. Among the definitions of intimacy offered by the Oxford English Dictionary is first, the quality or condition of being personally intimate, including the meanings of intimate friendship, close familiarity, closeness of observation or knowledge, and it is often employed as a euphemism for sexual intercourse. A second meaning, characterized as rare and confined to the 18th and 19th centuries, is expressed as intimate or close connection or union. And a third meaning, noted as obsolete after the 18th century, is inner or inmost nature, an inward quality or feature. While a dominant understanding of intimacy from the early 19th century and into the present is being personally intimate, which includes sexual and romantic intimacy within and in relation to bourgeois marriage and family, we may situate this meaning in relation to residual and emergent ways of constructing the sense of intimacy as close connection. That is, the implied but less visible forms of alliance, affinity, and society among variously colonized peoples beyond the metropolitan national center. Lisa Lowe. The undoing of archives and scholarship around them must happen at the center as well. For those of us who walk into archives and colonial centers, it's important to walk out with the undoing beginning. I'm trying to cultivate intimacy as a method of rewriting the story of the center, of when the center thought it was undoing to begin to draw constellations of women living as artists and lives undefined by academic dictionaries. I'm waiting for my husband to go to the bank and open an account in Bucharest. As an American citizen, He just received a residency permit from the Romanian authorities, and it's the first time it's possible for him to start tracing a life here. Looking at the fence, becoming increasingly frustrated that he's taking a long time to come down from our apartment, I begin to read a note written to the secret police in 1988 about redacted English teacher and translator for the Technological Research Institute, who the informant says is unhappy with his approval, that his approval is so delayed to leave the country and marry redacted, who has been residing in France since 1987. And he is saying he is writing 2 memos to the passport office in Bucharest in which he states that he will take advantage of the fact that his home is on the route the presidential car usually goes on, and that the following memo he will stick on the presidential car's windshield with the risk that he may end up under the wheels of the car. He is also saying that the slow process of approving his passport gives him the right to forever waiting and the right to dissent.
For me, translation has been first and foremost a relationship to a particular place and its people, which is also my personal heritage. I was born in Romania, and I left when I was 2 for the States with my family as refugees from the communist regime. So I grew up with a very common immigrant experience where I was spoken to in Romanian, and then I answered in English once I learned English. I only started translating Romanian literature when I went back to Romania, which was first on a Fulbright, and then when I decided I was going to live here. For me, translation isn't merely a linguistic exercise. I felt I needed to build up a store of material and cultural memories of my own. And that is the way that elevators in old communist blocks smell, or the sounds on a busy boulevard, the shared pleasure of a breeze at an outdoor cafe on a really hot day in the summer. Even if these things never show up as such, literally in the things that I translate, they exist for the writers, and I wanted them to exist for me as well. I wanted to host the moods that these things created. Translation has also been a way for me in which I've been welcomed back to Romania. It's a way of connecting with other writers as well as recuperating the culture that I've missed. And though I've translated some older literature, which has captivated me, right now I'm particularly interested in translating contemporary poetry and prose by living writers. With the writers I've met, I can literally imagine their voices as I work on my translations of their writing. Unsurprisingly, I'm particularly drawn to aspects of place in the works that I translate. For example, I lived in Iași for a year and a half, and it figures disproportionately in the poems I've chosen to translate. In my translations, I want to transport my readers to these places, but without losing any of the strangeness that comes from really seeing a place and noticing the things there. Literature has this way of making the unfamiliar familiar, and vice versa. And perhaps in that way, translation is a kind of hyperliterature.
Drink Arabic coffee right now. I'm eager to have like a real coffee, because real coffee means Arabic coffee with this smell that you can smell it from the next door. You know, come on, Fatima, why you need company? You can do it by your own. And the first time that I did that by my own, it was like a very wonderful experience. That I had a lot of. From there, I began to love my loneliness. يا بنتي ما بعتي لي ما
أنا كويس.
feeling better right now?
Yeah. When I saw you, of course.
She missed us. You see, you love us, right?
Yeah, I miss you. You know what? The day that I don't see you, I'm أقسم بالله أنا بهزر. I'm
Why do you guys forget that I'm not from Arab country and I cannot speak Arabic?
It's
Yeah, but we
say the same. We say the same.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
You say that? No, but we translate what we say, but sometimes it's the first impression to say it in Arabic, you know, and then we translate it into English.
Especially if
So
it's
they're
something
translating
like-
my shit.
And actually, we are
Emotional.
counting in your
when it's emotional.
wisdom. You understand everything.
Of course, you understand everything.
She wants me for understanding everything.
A wonderful food.
Really?
Yes, of course.
Hi Enzo!
I didn't have my lunch.
How are you?
Hi.
Hi, Anna.
So beautiful.
Wow. Yeah.
I loved it. Really beautiful.
She wants to hear it again.
I loved it.
You look so beautiful.
So beautiful. This is the princess that I was talking
Thank
about.
you. Oh my god!
That's so beautiful.
But I love the way you guys compliment each other.
Wow, like, are you married? Are you married?
C'est une tombe.
She's not French, so that's
C'est tout
why
au bout de la
she's
ville, il y a une cimetière, paraît-il, tout blanc.
not. Also, that's another reason because
Je
she's
pense que ma
not
fille s'est
French,
enterrée là.
so she's not
tombe
sure
est nue
about her
avec
language.
You realize the way she's speaking, she's not
Quelqu'un,
French,
je
or
sais pas.
Yeah, and then
Femme
she will
peut-être,
explain
elle
that
change de
because
langue.
I realized that when
Quand
she
il m'en a
was
parlé, je lui ai
returning
dit
back
que
the
j'avais très
word
envie
and
de voir
asking
cette tombe, alors
if
voilà,
it's
hier,
the
je me
right
suis
word.
sortie.
Actually, she's making
petit
eye
carnet
contact with the
pour noter.
one who's making the interview with her in a way like it's her
une
friend.
histoire,
It's
un
not like
brève,
somebody who will hire
Une
her or
phrase que
give
j'ai
her a
vue
job.
dans un livre,
yeah.
Pourquoi Epsilon?
parce que ça ne sert à rien. Ce qui compte vraiment, c'est le métier de
Without
l'inventeur,
any
on s'en
notes.
souvient.
Well, that's right.
Immigration laws in the United States excluded my parents, which is maybe why they were immigrants. When my parents arrived in the United States, an Arabic speaker gave my father a loan of $5,000 to buy his first car, a Cutlass Supreme. His name was Naufal.
တငယ်ချင်းတယောက်ကပင်လယ်ထဲကိုစိုက်ကင်နဲ့ဆင်းသွားတယ်။တငယ်ချင်းတယောက်ကမိချောင်းတစ်စိတ်စပိန်ကလေးကိုတွန်းပြီးဆယ်စုနှစ်တစ်ခုကြာအောင်လမ်းပြောက်နေခဲ့တယ်။တငယ်ချင်းတယောက်ကတင်မောသားပြောက်နေတဲ့လက်ထက်
I nei varvari naftasun simera. Ja ti mezastin sinrito miatetia apraxia. Ti kathalisin.
မင်းဆုံးရှုံးခဲ့ရတဲ့အရာတွေကိုမင်းပြန်ရလိမ့်မယ်။မင်းရဲ့စပင်ဟာမိုးပေါ်ကိုစံတမ်းပြီးတက်နေလိမ့်မယ်။တနက်ပြောင်းတွေကွေးညွတ်သွားကြလိမ့်မယ်။တိုက်လင်ယူနေဟာမင်းနာမည်ပါတဲ့စာတန်းကိုတွင့်ထူပြီးဟုတ်ကွယ်
Se seconda sub un braccia mare. Braccialor doi sacca. Timpul avea cu oamenii nesfârșit de răbdare. Viața se scurgea aici fără conflict.
أحببتي ومن نسيتي ومن بكيتي لا تستقيم الرحلة إلا بنار الذاكرة دعيها تخرج من مسامك من
Ja
أذنيك
ti mezastin sinrito miatetia apraxia. Ti kathalisin teki kedelmä mutatune. Ja ti varvari naftasun simera.
في غفلة منهم احملي في جرابك حفنة من دعاء امرأة احتضنت الوجع قديما وغرست معك منديلا رطبا لملمي فيه دمك المتعثر الذي أعطته الطريق شكلا مغاميا
Mama rămânea să aibă grijă ca ziua să se
تشتد الشمس فوق رأسك فلا يفصلك عنها سوى
se uita peste drum. Γιατί ο αυτοκράτορ μας τόσο πρωί σηκώθηκε κάθεται στις πόλεις της πιο μεγάλη πύλη στον θρόνο επάνω, επίσημος φορώντας
ريدات حمر كلما خطوت أكثر. الدم لا يذهب سدى، الدم ابن الأرض. التقطي حجرا من
din mâna lui fumul de țigară se ridica drept.
أنت إذا فعلت فقدت نصف الغاية. اختاريه
ton aripa.